What's up, everybody, and welcome to the East Coast Avengers. I, Dominic, one of your hosts, along with JT, Darren, Josh, and Christian, come together and talk all things nerdy. The East Coast Avengers bring you the latest news, topics, and opinions with passion and humor from all around the nerdscape. So head on over to anchor.fm/East Coast Avengers podcast, where you can listen in on different platforms and join in on the conversation.
What's up, nerds and nerdettes? This is the podcast where everyone knows your name.
Cheers to ya.
Cheers to ya.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Tyler. And this is 30 and Nerdy. And we are coming at you from the Fortress of Nerditude with yours truly, the registered nerd practitioner, the founder of Nerdledge, the Nerdpolian Bonaparte of Morristown, the Mac. And great to be joined by my co-host, the juicy one, the Nerdtorious JLD, the PhD of Nerdology, Sergeant Sound Effect himself, Dr. Davis.
I panicked. I didn't have a sound ready, so I just picked one. Thanks, Mario.
Mario to the rescue. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a new decade.
Yeah.
We are in the 20s. We're the nerdin' 20s. Because the roaring 20s were 100 years ago. This is the nerdin' 20s.
It really is, though.
It really is. Listen, we are so happy to have you all with us in Season 2.
I never thought we'd make it this far.
I know. It was great to be picked up by the network again. Very happy. And if you were wondering where you can find us, obviously whatever you're listening to us on. And if you have a other favorite podcast app like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, basically wherever you cast your pod at, that's where you find us. Yeah. We're also on CastBox FM and, of course, Podchaser.com. Now, with Podchaser, we are part of the group called Pod Nation. They are a bunch of our friends. We hope that you will take the time to listen to us as well as them, and you can rate individual episodes on that site. So please take the time to rate us, and when you do, we hope that you'll give us
5 stars.
That's right, 5 stars, little Emma. And you can also follow the conversation on Twitter at #30andNerdyPod. So when you're listening to this, tweet at us. Let us know what you think. If you have a disagreement, if you have an agreement, if you think we missed talking about a certain thing, please let us know. We love catching up with you all. A lot of people have started their Season 2s of stuff. Some friends like Pop Culture Brews, they got their Season 2 ramping.
Hey,
3
congrats.
Fat Nerds, 3 hours later. Ocho Duro Parlay Hour still killing it. You know, a bunch of our friends. So it's just been a fantastic Season 1 getting to know those people.
Oh, yeah.
And you should check them all out. So, what's up, Doc?
Wow. Hey, 2020, like you said.
Right, man, it's
a
crazy.
A new year, a new decade. I've just finished Christmas break from
back to school.
Yeah, back to school this week. Had a great time chilling at home with the lady and the little princess.
Your daughter.
Watched Frozen probably every day, sometimes
Yes.
twice. As much as I love Disney and I do enjoy Frozen, gotta say I was ready to give that up for a little while, but yeah, it's just been great. I'm very thankful for a great Christmas and a great New Year, and great to be here with you again.
Yeah, man. It's great to be back here with you. It was a great Christmas break for us. We got to hang out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Got to see some new things, like while we were on Christmas break. The Witcher, which is what we're discussing today. You know, it dropped.
Wow.
Binge style. It's been fantastic. We also, while the entire family was in, we decided to start Grey's Anatomy over again, which is emotional.
Oh, what an undertaking!
I know. I've not watched it like Peyton and Mom have, but everybody's back. They all went back to where.
Is that like still going?
Yeah.
That show?
Yeah, it's still going.
Does it have 329 seasons
It's-
like Supernatural?
It has one more season than Supernatural now. It got renewed
Wow.
when Supernatural announced cancellation. Grey's got renewed.
The never-ending shows.
Yeah, man. It's on its way to be second or third to SVU. So,
Oh.
cool. But yeah, having everybody home was fantastic. Peyton got to interview for a job in New York. She, interviewed with a lot of other people, so, it didn't work out, but it looks like she is really pushing to land in New York. With
That was
Nolan.
like her first big interview, though.
That was her first
yeah,
big
you know,
interview. And
still early.
yeah, it's still early. So she has been going full force with trying to start her career now that she has her master's in global communications, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Nolan's back at teaching. Mom and Dad are back in Georgia. And so the house is empty again.
Solo.
I'm riding solo. It's been great, though. So also, we are nearing the end of the run of our store.
Oh, yeah.
And there have been a few orders, but this is our run for a while. It ends on the 18th.
Not a lot of time left.
Not a lot of time left, and we don't know when we'll run it again. And there are some exclusive things in this store that we absolutely will not run again. So, that's companycasuals.com/30 and nerdy swag.
Yeah.
And that is our exclusive link to you all. That's for our exclusive attire and not at full price either. So
Hey.
that's just for you all. So please write that down when you're listening to it.
You're welcome,
Exactly. It's just a New Year's
you
gift
filthy animals.
from us to you. Even if it's just a hat, every little bit, of support we're just so thankful for. So please don't let time go by. You now have 11 days before that shuts down. Last week we had a special episode.
Sure did.
The Rev of Rants himself hosted our best of Nerdin' in 19.
He did a great job.
It was a lot of fun. It was fun to hear those old memories.
Mm-hmm.
Some things I forgot,
Yeah.
and we even threw in a little unheard of
He sure
clip
did.
from our Shazam talk, which was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Lots of good stuff on there, man.
Yeah.
It was fun putting it together, and a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
We are two
funny guys.
silly
We
men.
were wild and crazy guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were a lot of things that I'd forgotten that we had talked about and discussed, and some things I wanted to forget. But
Now it lives forever.
and now it lives forever.
And if you haven't heard it, go back and check it out.
Yes.
The best of 30 and Nerdy, Season 1,
2019.
2019,
Yes,
whichever.
So you can find that also on any podcast platform as well as our YouTube channel archives, 30 and Nerdy Podcast. But this week, we're going to be talking about the Netflix original series, The Witcher. But before we were talking about that, we'll get to the nerd news. We'll talk about a new NERDcabulary word, the first NERDcabulary word of 2020.
Can't wait.
I'm excited. I think it's a good one. But before we get to all that, let's hear a word from one of our sponsors.
All right.
Encore Theatrical Company is proud to open its 14th season with a chorus line. See the show that the New York Times called one of the greatest musicals ever. One of the longest running shows in Broadway history. A multitude of awards including 12 Tonys and the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. Come see the singular sensation that is A Chorus Line. January 17th through the 26th at the Inman Humanities Complex Theater, Walter State, Morristown. Proudly presented by Lakeway Dermatology Associates, Ashley Lodge Photography, Walter State Community College, the Citizen Tribune, Aaron's, Litz Turf Farms, Freddie Cat Productions, Tar Chevrolet and Hyundai, Hampton Inn and Suites, Brainchild Creative, and WJDT 106.5 and WBGQ 100.7. Tickets available now at 423-318-8331 or online at etcplays.org.
All right, time to talk nerdy to you. The first nerd word of 2020. It's a new decade. Not just a new year, but a new decade. So I thought I would make a very just fantastic nerdier resolution. And it is going to be less toxic nerddom.
Oh, I love it.
Or
what a
AKA,
prolific thing you've done.
or AKA what I like to call the fandom menaces.
Jeez.
Basically, the definition to toxic nerddom would be nothing is ever good enough in your selective nerddom. Mm-hmm. And this example may be a little bit of a rant, but too bad. In a world, obviously, I did a lot of thinking over the break. I did on how I wanted to be a better nerd. So, in a world where
we should all be better nerds.
Absolutely, we should strive every day to be better.
Of course,
because eyes are on us as a culture. So, in a world where our nerd culture, once a thing of ridicule and shame, is now mainstream, we're now open to a world of opinions on writing, cinematography, execution, so on. You can't go to the theaters these days or turn on TV without seeing nerd culture in your face, whether it's comic book film, supernatural shows, spy-fi, or science fiction. Nerd is everywhere, with social media ever growing and the replications of nerds happening as fast-paced. Toxic nerddom is at its worst. Never has it been more apparent than with the most toxic nerds to date, the Star Wars nerds.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you haven't grown up with it, you know of the polarizing views that these nerds have, i.e. our friend Tyler Thompson. He himself had comments in our Season 1 finale that he told you that the fans were what kept him away from even starting the franchise.
Yeah, the guy's like 20, 21 years old, and he's gone his whole life without seeing Star Wars.
Because
and when I ask
of
him
the
why,
fans.
He says it's because the fans.
They're either crazy positive or crazy negative.
Yeah.
So why put your own brain and emotions through that? With 2020 literally being a new decade, I urge fellow nerds to please try to be more positive. We live in an era where people will not go see a movie based off of what someone tweeted or some idiot critic from Rotten Tomatoes said. By no means am I saying you shouldn't have qualms or critical thinking, but I urge you to be more positive and keep your negative nerdcity off of social media platforms and promote positive views on being a nerd. And as dear Mr. Gump puts it, that's all I have to say about that. I figured you would like to start out strong.
Hang on, I just want to... Yes. It's... Wow. What a thing.
You know, I spent a lot of 2019 in negative nerd mentality. Whether it was giving you crap about the Game of Thrones finale, Last Jedi, this new sequel franchise in general. I feel like I want to get back to a place where I can have qualms and maybe like, well, that's not what I would do. But I don't want to leave toxic and not enjoying it. I mean, but I'm honest. I mean, there are people on social media who are like, well, I guess I'll redbox it because I've seen what people are saying. You know, so why? Why not formulate your own opinion?
I feel like I've been saying this same thing for
now
months.
You have been. You have been. And I've not been, it's not gone on deaf ears. I've listened. But, I did a lot of soul searching over the break. Nerd soul searching. But yeah, let's try to be more positive as nerds. Because not just like from me to you, but people hear us banter.
Yeah.
Now, friendly banter about DC and Marvel is one thing, but I don't want people to see our nerd as like, God, they just don't like anything. Or Tyler doesn't like anything. Or Josh doesn't like this. Or we can still enjoy it and have our qualms. But social media, and I will blame social media. I mean, with the rise of social media, everyone's a critic and everyone's a political science major. Everyone's
an expert on
everyone's
everything.
An expert on everything thanks to social media.
My uncle Jimmy shared it, so it's got to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. So please, in 2020, let's start this new decade off with more positive nerddoms and more uplifting comments as nerds. Let's get on to our next segment and Josh's favorite, What You Watchin'?
Very nice.
So, JD, what you watching?
Well, as I stated in the intro, I've probably seen Frozen about 23 times over the past couple weeks. So if you have questions...
can quote it.
I can, most of it. If you have questions about it, I'd be glad to answer them because I know everything about it. Other than that,
even who drew third snowflake from the left, he knows that now.
well, we've watched the credits every time as well because Emma likes the music.
Yes.
And at the very, very end, after the credits, the big ice monster that Elsa made, the one that goes, "Don't come back," that one.
Don't come back.
Yeah, he walks back into the little palace and he picks up Elsa's little crown and puts it on. So
Post-credit scene.
We have to wait for that every time.
Yes.
But anyway, I digress. I feel like we beat Star Wars half to death in December.
Yeah.
With Star Wars month, and we've just been crazy about Star Wars here lately. And I wasn't ready to give it up, so I started watching the Clone Wars, and I know you have as well. I'm burning that thing down, bro.
It's good.
I'm on season 4
way
already.
better the second time around. Like
Absolutely.
I took it for granted when it started debuting.
I did too. Yeah,
It's great.
I never finished the whole thing in the past. I got pretty far, but I just remember I wasn't very interested, and I didn't. When I had it on, I was really just waiting to get to Darth Maul, which I still haven't this time around. But so I didn't pay attention to a lot of it, and some of it is a little silly here and there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's a great show. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you should really give it a chance. I have a friend here in town who told me he started watching it because he had never seen it before because he thought it was for little kids. And he said, I found out that it was actually really great.
There's some mature elements.
There's some really good storytelling in there.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite episodes, there's barely any Jedi in it. It's when there's like 7 clones watching this outpost.
Yeah.
And they don't know that they're being invaded by these rogue, like, shadow droids.
Yeah.
They're made different, and like that whole storytelling aspect, and like Rex and Commander Cody show up to find that it's been taken over by droids, and at the end, the most immature and selfish clone, who's like dying to see action, sacrificed himself, died, like blew the base up instead of letting the enemy have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like that's pretty crazy. Like that's some adult storytelling. And
But I mean, like, if you take the time to really think about what they're saying and doing and all that stuff, there's really deep storytelling here, and
there is
a lot of really strong messages that you can take away from it. So I love that aspect of it. Of course, The Witcher, which we're going to talk about today. I've been watching that as well, and that's really it.
Yeah.
So Frozen, Clone Wars, and The Witcher. So, how about you?
Okay, well, I have been watching The Witcher just like you. However, I watched Rogue One and New Hope recently, and I have questions and found some holes.
In Rogue One?
No,
or
Rogue One created
like in the
some
connection
holes.
between the two movies.
Yes.
Okay.
Number one, the first question I have is, Vader is at that time, aside from Palpatine, actually he's stronger than Palpatine, but Palpatine kind of keeps him in a weak state. Vader's like the strongest Force user in the galaxy at that point.
I suppose so.
Other
than Yoda.
Has come across his daughter at the beginning, but does not have the wherewithal to sense the Force in her, to sense that that's his daughter, and as one of the strongest, doesn't sense that maybe I should go back to Tatooine. Because, like, legitimately, this space wizard, as you call him, Luke, his son, is hidden on Vader's own home planet with his family, with his in-laws, basically.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe he should have known. Or was he just so blinded by rage?
Well, I'll tell you, here's the reason.
It's a legitimate, like, man, I feel like Vader should sense them. Like, he at one point is holding on to Leia. Like, I feel like he'd be like, I sense something.
I hear you. You're not going to like my answer.
Okay.
Star Wars was made in 1977, and Rogue One was made in 2016 or 17.
Well, yeah.
And at the time that Star Wars was made, I don't think that anybody knew, including George Lucas, that Leia was going to be, one, a Jedi, and two, Darth Vader's daughter.
The thing that Rogue One caused me is, what destroys the planet at the end of Rogue One?
The Death Star.
Okay. But in A New Hope, Tarkin himself said this will be the first time we get to fire the Death Star.
I Are you sure that they destroyed the entire planet in Rogue One, or they just remember like the first time they used it when Saw Gerrera was the one that died from it? They just took out the city.
Okay,
They
so
might have
maybe
just
this was
targeted
like
that base.
the full power.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's just, and I think it wasn't. I don't see it as something they missed. I just see it as something that, okay, well, it's different dialogue from 77 as to 2014.
Right.
But I don't know. Just watching back through these, like now, I see where people have issues, but it comes to the point of different time. You know, I mean, if these were all made linearly, you wouldn't find plot holes. Because if they made episode 1 first, starting at the beginning, and went 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, if they did all that we've had from the beginning, I think that people would be less apt to complain.
Right. Well, we just got to remember,
we can't,
people, that when Star Wars was made, nobody knew, including George Lucas, as far as I know, nobody knew that it was going to turn into this big thing that people are going to be watching for 50 years, and that there's people are going to be looking for all those little misconnections and all that stuff. Nobody knew any of that stuff at the time. We're trying to build off of a story that was not meant to become what it is now. So
that also brings me to, there is rumor that 2022, 2024, and 2026 will all have a Star Wars movie in it.
Okay.
What do you see coming?
Well, I think they've pretty much let it out that it's going to be Knights of the Old Republic.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
I mean, I don't think it's like officially confirmed.
But
yes,
D&D
we're doing
aren't getting it.
No.
They changed from D&D to running that movie to someone else.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for that. I'm very excited for Old Republic. Now we're going to have to play the games again.
Star Wars will never die.
Yep.
That's
We'll
the
die
point
before
of
Star
all
Wars
this.
dies. So, I've also been watching a little bit of, like I told you, Grey's Anatomy. And when I start to feel myself getting a little too emotionally tied to these characters all over again, I'm like, I need to nerd out about something. Stop becoming human for a little bit and become a nerd. So I actually went back to DC Universe and watched some of the old Batman cartoons again.
Nice. Good choice.
Loved it. It brought me out of my depression. So yeah. But I can't wait to talk Witcher with you. But now let's move on to the Nerd News. All right, that means it's time for the Nerd News. And we have had quite a bit happen in the past week or so let's just get through it. The video game studio that brought us Jedi Fallen Order, which we both love.
Yep.
Fantastic game. Has put up new job posting in its Star Wars division. Word coming out of the studio is that it is in pre-production for a follow-up to the ever-so-popular 2019 video game.
Don't see why you wouldn't.
Why would you not capitalize? Where do you go of that? So they destroyed the holocron, spoiler alert, and said that, at the end, they will not search out the new Jedi, that they'll let the Force do the work for them. But then you've got these 4 friends now, like, okay, where do we go next? So,
I think that you're pretty much, you have unlimited ways that you can take this, because Darth Vader's still out there. Mm-hmm. The Emperor's still out there. Mm-hmm. So, Empire's still out there.
Yeah, I mean, the Empire's out there. Anything that happened between 3 or 4 is out there.
It's a free game.
In the canon universe, and that's exciting. But yeah, so moving on. Joker's Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor at the Golden Globes.
I think there was talk about, like, right when the movie came out, that he was probably a shoo-in for that.
Yes.
I think it's well-deserved. To be honest, though, I really haven't seen many of the other movies that were nominated, because I pretty much only watch nerdy stuff.
Yes.
So I can't really comment on that, but, man, Joaquin Phoenix was spectacular. He blew it out of the park, and it's very well-deserved.
It's game-changing.
And I loved his acceptance speech as well.
Oh, yeah. Powerful.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. A lot of actors and actresses that night were like, we can share things and tweet things all we want to, but we need to do things.
Yeah.
Too. So I was very happy with a lot of people's speeches. Christian Bale is in talks to join the cast of Thor: Love and Thunder.
Not confirmed yet, but it's
Not
definitely
confirmed.
in talks.
In talks. So we nerds have been, since this news popped out, a lot of people have been speculating.
Right.
You know, who does he play? And the big names on the list right now are obviously he would voice Beta Ray Bill.
Right.
Which I think it's time to bring in Beta Ray Bill. I liked him.
Yeah.
And the little bit of stuff. Balder. You remember Balder?
Sure.
Cole Borson, God of Fear. Dario Agger, the Minotaur. Gore, the God Butcher. I guess it's a big villain of Thor's.
I don't know much about him.
Don't know much about it. Mangog, who looks like another creature. But basically, it's up in the air. I mean...
And I bet you that when it actually happens, he'll be none of those things.
None of them.
It'll be something we
It'll
never
be
even
some
thought
human
of.
character that we didn't think
Yeah.
about. That brings us into the next phase, maybe. Maybe a shocking character. It's just not Thor's lore, but he's in Thor. Which would be cool.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if maybe he's Magneto. I don't know.
Oh,
Like, just some swerve. Doctor
Oh.
Doom. I don't know. Just some
that
swerve.
would be cool. I don't know about Magneto.
Yeah. He could be a good Doctor Doom, maybe.
Maybe.
Possibly. So, as of January 4th, filming has officially begun in London for The Batman. Commissioner Gordon actor Jeffrey Wright was one of the first on set at 5 a.m. to get things going in Gotham.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of old, what's his face?
Edward.
Yeah. What's his name? Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson
Saw
on
him sitting on
motorcycle
a motorcycle
with the face
Yeah.
covered up. Yeah. And like we discussed a few episodes ago, he's not bulky, is he?
He didn't seem to be. He had a big coat on, though.
Yeah, that's true. So moving on. It is reported that Universal's third theme park will be called Fantastic Worlds and could draw from IPs like Mario, Lord of the Rings, or even more Harry Potter.
I'm there.
I know. I mean, I haven't been to Universal since I was 12 also.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I've been a couple of times and been to the Harry Potter thing and all that stuff, and it's great. It's pretty cool, but and I don't think this is just me being biased. I think this is what the majority of people would say. If you've been to Disney on the same trip that you go to Universal, it's going to sort of pale in comparison.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just is not the
I
same.
just think there's more.
It's almost like it's a disappointment compared to that.
Yeah. I
So-
think there's Disney, you could spend a week at Disney World
And not get everything done.
everything done.
Yeah.
You could spend a week at Universal and repeat some things.
Well, and I don't know. The lines at Universal are always
Yeah.
ridiculous, like way worse than Disney.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something different about it. And Disney, just as corny as it sounds, it really does have that. There's just something magical about it. So, to me, going from Disney to Universal, I was kind of underwhelmed. But the Harry Potter stuff is definitely worth seeing if you're a fan. And if they have something Lord of the Rings in there, you best
Ooh.
believe I'm gonna
They
haul
start
my
putting Middle Earth in
hind
there.
end down there. Yeah,
I'm there. And I think a Mario world would work.
that would be
Like,
really cool.
Literally build a world like you're in Mario. That'd
Yeah,
be
like-
so cool.
Do you remember when we went to Six Flags and when you ride Batman, like you go through that? There was like a big tunnel you walk through,
Yeah,
and
and
there
you're
was
in
the fan.
Gotham.
Yeah, the fan at the end, like from the movie that
Yeah.
he's running towards.
Yeah.
like it'd be cool if they have something like
The
that, but you're in one of the
tunnels.
tunnels.
In the green tunnel.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. Moving on, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi are working on a new Evil Dead script, but it will be with a new young filmmaker and not have Ash in it. Because, as Bruce Campbell says, he has retired the character. I guess after 3 seasons of the HBO special and it not really taking off like the movies did,
Right.
I'm sure I'd be like, yeah, I think it's time to put the character to bed,
it is
Sam.
time.
So, Observer Magazine, which we know is such an exciting, gripping, and oh-so-factual read, sat down with Dr. Helen Sharman. She was the first British astronaut to go into space. In her interview, she claimed that there are absolutely aliens in existence, and they are already living amongst us.
Spoiler alert:
Spoiler alert.
it's me.
So if you are an alien and you are listening to this, thank you.
And welcome.
You are most welcome here. Moving on, Silent Hill art director announces that there will be a new game. Those games scared me.
Yeah,
Kind of like Dead Space and Resident Evil. I haven't played them in a
I
while.
don't have a whole lot of experience with Silent Hill.
But I think a lot of people were like, you're either a Resident Evil player or a Silent Hill player.
Yeah, I did play some Resident Evil,
Yeah.
but not Silent Hill.
Yeah.
But hey, great for them.
Absolutely. So, we have had some X-Men stuff pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, apparently a year later, there's been talks like we are releasing New Mutants still.
I guess it's really going to happen.
Yeah.
It's been up in the air for a long time, and I remember a long time ago when we did our X-Men episode of 30 and Nerdy, we briefly mentioned that
Yeah.
New Mutants was supposed to come out at some point.
Well, like, they said the first teaser trailer that dropped was 15 months ago.
Yeah.
15 months ago. And then they were like, well, Dark Phoenix sucked, so maybe we should stop. And now all of a sudden, like, nope, we're releasing it.
Yeah.
No, it's happening. We're going to do it. Why? You think they're like, well, we've got a little bit of time before we can have to stop making...
Shoot, what do they have to lose? You know?
Yeah. I mean, especially
Go for
with
it.
the loves of thrilling and horror and gritty and Stranger Things type Joker stuff right now. I'd release it before you have to completely stop, because there's like in there, the selling of it to Disney, there's like after this date, you're done making these IPs. So, I mean, if you have it, you might as well go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
Might as well.
That's how
I'll be
I
interested
take
to see it. I'm going to hold my judgments for it, but, I'll be interested to see it, because Homeboy from Stranger Things is in it. Arya Stark's in it.
Yeah.
So, looks good.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, so that is the end of your nerd news.
And we're back.
Yes.
What a great song.
I've become addicted.
Everybody has been. It's sort of the new thing on the internet.
Yeah. It has words to it, so people can sing it. It's not like the Stranger Things thing where you're just like dun 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 dun.
That's true. Pretty catchy.
Yeah, it is. It's very catchy. And it's just simple enough.
Did you hear the Trivium heavy metal version of it?
No,
Yeah, that's a thing. Not as good.
not as good.
Yeah.
What
it was
about,
cool, but it was
do you
alright.
like the guy's voice in the show? The bards?
Oh yeah.
I like him.
He's
pretty
one of my
cool.
favorite characters,
He kind of
actually.
reminds me a little bit of like an Efron. There's like this bloodline, I'm telling you. Like, like Logan Lerman, Billy from Stranger Things season 2 and 3. Or season 3. Yeah, 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah. Zac Efron, Logan Lerman, him, and this guy all look similar.
What?
Logan Lerman
Handsome?
was Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
They just have this certain look. Like
Handsome?
their eyes are sure. Their eyes are shaped the same way. They talk almost the same way. It's just weird. It's weird.
That's what the Hollywood does to you.
Yeah,
It makes
turns
you
into
look.
doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dopplers. That's one of the creatures, isn't it? The Doppler.
Yeah.
Have you gotten? Yeah.
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 So
Not a radar. Not a Doppler radar. It's a creature in the show. We'll get to it. Did you
So-
play the games?
I played all of the second game and like a little bit of the third. I
just
downloaded
downloaded 3.
Yeah.
It's on Game Pass for free. Actually, it's on this month's Xbox Live.
Oh,
Xbox
wow.
Gold. So I just downloaded it before heading your way.
That's probably making a lot of people happy, but I bet that they're losing a killing on that because
Mm-hmm.
people are crazy about downloading that game now that the show's out.
Yeah, now that the show's out, I bet people are like, well, I want to play it. And I'm also even tempted to read some of this stuff.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too.
I think it'd be cool.
I read something that like all the bookstores and Amazon and everybody is like completely sold out of the physical copies of the books.
And that's a partnership and a half. That is something that I think nerd culture is really good at doing. Like, it spans different media IPs. Like Harry Potter. They made video games. They made movies. They made books.
They made theme parks.
They made theme parks.
They made a
so
Broadway
it's
musical.
like, wow, Broadway
Not a musical, but just a play.
show.
Sorry.
That truly shows how far a certain pop culture, nerd culture, whatever you want to call it, element, that's when it arrives, if it spans all of those medias.
Yeah.
And Witcher's now finally entered the, crossing different medias. I mean, and it's even up so, like, people are now like, I want to read. I mean, it's bringing people back to reading, too, which is great.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed it.
I liked it. I'm just still trying to figure out what happened, to be honest with you. Like, I'm into fantasy and stuff. Lord of the Rings is like one of my favorite things in the entire world. But there are a lot of times where I was like, wait, what? But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
A little...
But as you can tell, this week we are going to on The Witcher Season 1.
Yes. The Witcher is a 2019 Netflix original series based on the very popular video games and novels. It follows Geralt of Rivia, a fictional character and the protagonist of the Witcher series of short stories and novels by Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski.
Hey, good job.
Thank you. It has had many adaptations, which include film, TV series, comic book, and video games. Geralt, one of the few remaining Witchers on the continent, is a traveling monster slayer for hire, mutated and trained from an early age to slay deadly beasts.
Right. And in December of 2017, it was announced that Lauren Schmidt Histrich, will be the series showrunner. And on January 20th, 2018, Lauren tweeted that the script for the pilot episode is finished. I had no idea that the show was in development that far back.
Yeah.
Wow. The series was filmed in Hungary, Poland, and the Canary Islands.
I'd like to visit now.
A lot of stuff in Spain.
Yeah.
From what I've understood. Yeah. Filming began in October of 2018 and concluded in May of 2019. It was then confirmed from casting news and promotional material that the first season will adapt most of the collection of short stories from The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny. In November of 2019, before the first season even premiered, it was announced that the show was already renewed for a second season and would begin production in London in early 2020, with a planned debut in 2021.
I also heard that they have 7 seasons planned out.
Holy cow.
Already. I mean, I guess if you have that much source material, you could go on and on. I mean, look at Walking Dead. Their problem is they ran out of source material.
Yeah.
But Witcher has a lot. So, Geralt is portrayed in the Netflix series by Superman himself, Henry Cavill. Season 1 debuted binge-style stream at Netflix on December 20th, 2019, and has already attained an IMDb score of 8.7. But, of course, those lore Nazis out there have already taken to social media about some changes and, I guess, derivations, as you would call them, from the books and comics, which has to happen, I think.
Guys, there's a reason why it's called an adaptation.
Adaptation, yes.
Adapt.
Not a carbon
for
copy.
Your medium.
However, most of the nerd world is enjoying seeing it. We are now going to break down Season 1 of The Witcher, and we warn you ahead, there be spoilers.
Yeah. It's crazy that this thing has really taken off like it has. It's sort of become the new Game of Thrones, maybe.
Yeah.
It's the same type of feel, that gritty fantasy.
Definitely rated R.
Lots of cursing, lots of
adult theme
relations.
Yes.
Lots of drinking and violence and gore and all that great stuff that you love in fantasy and that people loved in Game of Thrones. And it's here too. And I saw that it recently booted Mandalorian out of the number one show.
Most streamed show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, have you seen these things where people are canceling Disney Plus since Season 1's over?
Season 1 Mandalorian? I've seen a few people say that.
Dumb.
What are you thinking?
Like, you're just going to get it again.
Yeah. And I mean, the Clone Wars is coming. We didn't talk about this earlier when we talked about the Clone Wars.
They're bringing it back.
But Season 7 of the Clone Wars is coming out sometime next month, apparently.
On Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that that The Witcher was released on the binge style, like all of it at once.
Yes.
I wonder if they're going to do that with Clone Wars, like one a week or all at once.
If they're smart, they do it one a week.
I think it depends though, because like
people keep it
with The Witcher, I don't feel like there ever would have been any point where people were like hanging onto the edges of their seat,
No.
excited to see what's going to happen the next week.
And I would love to meet those people who make that decision.
Yeah.
Like, how do you determine what's binge and what's episodic?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if while writing it, like while writing The Witcher, did they finish, the script for episode 3? And even as the writers go, I mean, I'm not like dying to know what we write next, so it should be episodic or it should be binge. Like, just get it, just
I think,
reading a book.
I think it was the right call for this one.
Yes, absolutely. So I thought we would dive a little bit into the synopsis, maybe talk a little bit about, thoughts, perceptions, stuff like that.
Let's do it.
So do you want to start with
Hey, I'm down.
chapter 1?
The End's Beginning, and the source of this episode comes from The Lesser Evil, which is one of the titles of one of the books.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right, so Geralt of Rivia battles a Kikimora before arriving in the nearby town of Blaviken. In a tavern, he meets Renfri, a princess-turned-bandit believed to be cursed. Renfri is after the wizard Stregobor, whom she has tracked to the town. Stregobor lures Geralt to his hideout and asks him to kill Renfri, but Geralt refuses. Later, Renfri approaches Geralt in the woods and offers a counter-proposal. Geralt gives her an ultimatum: leave Blaviken or die. She agrees to leave, but instead returns that night to seduce him.
Yes.
And if you've played the games, you'll notice that the show is very true to his encounters. He has the player, I should say, has the option of having
Wooing
said
women.
Lots of encounters with some of the ladies here in the Witcher world. So little nod to all that stuff. So anyway, I digress. But Geralt wakes up and realizes Renfri would not give up killing Stregobor. He rushes to the marketplace to stop her. After killing her men, he fights Renfri, fatally wounding her. Before dying, Renfri tells him of a girl who will be his destiny. Stregobor arrives to take Renfri's body for autopsy, which Geralt opposes. Years later, the kingdom of Cintra is attacked and defeated by its southern neighbor, Nilfgaard. Princess Cirilla is sent away by her grandmother, Queen Calanth. How do you say her name?
Calanth.
Calanth?
Calanth.
I thought it was like Calanthe.
That's how I pronounce it, but
Calanthe.
I'm from Morristown.
These names are like super Polish and high fantasy, so it's hard to pronounce.
Very high fantasy names.
To the grandmother, Queen Calanthe, whatever her name is, to escape and find Geralt of Rivia. While running, Cirilla is captured by Cahir, a Nilfgaardian officer. The sight of the burning city and castle trigger her powers, allowing her to escape. And that's episode 1.
Yes. I thought the intro was very grabbing, like starting off with a monster fight right off, because there's like this silence with a deer, and then boom, we're into a monster fight, and it's this creature like something out of like Ocarina of Time or something like that.
Yeah, really set the tone for the show. Since The Witcher is a monster hunter, I think it's only fitting that the first thing we see is him fighting a monster. So
yes, exactly.
Great.
And we even got to see early on some mutant abilities that he has. His little mutant side came out, his black eyes and his kind of, force. He kind of like used the force for a second.
He's got powers. Witchers have a little bit of magic. They're not nearly as strong as mages and things like that, from what I have read. But they do have, the ability to like push things and I remember in the game you could do one little spell or whatever that you could leave traps on the ground.
Yes.
So, they got a little bit of magic in them. And, man, the fight scenes in this show from start to finish, they're all brutal.
Oh, yeah. They're
gory
like
stuff.
Something you want to see in a dark fantasy.
Yeah.
Watching Game of Thrones and then watching this, I'm starting to think, like, what if they had made Lord of the Rings this way?
Oh, yeah.
Gritty. Bloody.
And did you know that the fight choreographer for The Witcher was the Night King in Game of Thrones?
Really?
Yeah. The guy who played the Night King in the last, 3 seasons He was the choreographer for all of the fighting except for my favorite fight, which was the one at the end of this first episode when he killed all of the guys in the town.
Yeah.
That was such a cool fight. I loved that scene, but that wasn't the same guy. So his name is Vladimir Furdik. And apparently, unfortunately, he's not going to be returning for season 2.
Why?
I don't know. Somebody left a comment on his Instagram or something and asked him if he would return for season 2, and he just said no. He didn't give a reason, just N-O.
Wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
I also definitely, I have these in my notes a few times. Definitely rated R. I also kind of enjoyed in this episode, there's like this running joke of he needs new clothes.
I have that too. People keep insulting his clothes like, oh, that'd be enough money to get some new clothes, which you desperately need. This dude is practically homeless. Come on, guys.
He's a mercenary for hire. Like,
have
good
some
Lord.
tact.
And it does have like a Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, even like a Robin Hood feel, like with the old villages and old towns, and the morality of it kind of feels like a Robin Hood. Like he is a Robin Hood type character, almost sometimes. And I think the music really adds to it. You know, we talk a lot about music in our nerd culture. It can make and break. We've talked about Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. And I really like this old Celtic, old English music style. It matches. It fits.
Yeah.
And I thought, also this is the episode where, we see a big bloody battle in the first episode between Nilfgaard and, Callant's kingdom, like just starting off with, a big bloody conquering battle.
It was
bold.
Yeah, it was
to put
intense.
that in episode 1. Like you start out with that kind of bloody intensity, you're like, woo. So this is the pace we've set. This is the tone you've set for this series.
When the king Iced, is that his name?
Yes.
Gets the arrow to the
eye.
just right in the face.
Yes.
I was like, dang.
Yeah, he ain't gonna be in the next episode.
Nope.
But
actually, he was.
Yeah, he is
And,
later on in a
at some
flashback
point.
type situation.
We'll get there.
We will get there. And I will say that moving forward, the timeline, it took me a while to realize what the timeline was. That these
me
are
too.
like 2 or 3 different timelines trying to meet each other.
When I started the series over for my second watch through, now knowing what I know, I catch things here and there.
Like, oh, okay.
That I didn't catch the first
Yeah.
time. But I didn't understand that they were doing the timeline thing until like episode 4.
Me too.
When the queen walked out to the big party and
Yeah.
everything. That's the first time I figured out what was going on.
That's when it hit me too, because I was like, wait, she's dead.
And the fact that you saw Mouse Sack before that, which
Yeah.
by the way,
I think they pronounce yes.
who comes up with the name Mouse Sack?
Mouse sack, and it's spelled mouse
Sack. What an unfortunate name.
Someone needs to talk to his parents.
He
Like,
was
why would you do such a thing?
He was a cool character though.
The end of the episode alone was very dark and powerful. Like the deaths, the planned suicides during the war. Like they all had this plan of we will not be taken prisoner. We will drink this and kill ourselves.
Yeah.
First, the defeat and desperation, the fight with Geralt and Renfri's men,
My favorite fight in the whole show.
and then the fight with Geralt and Renfri.
Yeah,
Like,
the thing
I
about
thought she'd be a bigger character.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like Renfri is supposed to be really important and a really big deal, but she was barely in the show.
Yeah.
She was in this episode, and then like maybe one time later, just in like a vision or something.
or a flashback or something.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's in the games or whatever.
Again,
there are
I
lots
haven't
of
played a
ladies
lot.
in the games.
I
So.
haven't played a lot of them. It's one that just missed timing. I just didn't get it. No, I mean, I just didn't buy it. I got it. Like, I was like, oh, that's a cool premise.
Yeah.
Cool look, cool gritty game based off of novels. I like that. But I just never bought it. And now that it's finally, I'm playing The Witcher 3 first because it's available. I just thought it was a great episode, a great opening episode. The fight scenes, the character building. I felt like the characters were believable. Like even Cavill's performance as Geralt, very.
I thought he was great.
Almost like a Wolverine demeanor meets quiet. Just I don't know. Just
his voice sounded exactly like the game. The guy
he's
in the game.
He's a fan. Like he plays the games.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, he was like, I've been playing The Witcher since the first one came out.
Oh, great.
He's like, that's why I was like, I've got to be Geralt.
Well, I thought he was perfect.
He's good.
I thought he was
really
better
good.
in this than in Superman.
It even had, and like, oh, well, yeah. But it even had, like you said earlier, elements of the game, which is, I think, what makes it strong. Also, is because like, oh, you can do that in the game.
They really went out of their way to use some fancy vocabulary in the writing as well.
Yes.
Like early on when he's talking to the wizard in his little dream palace with all the naked ladies walking around and all that stuff. Strugabor. He uses the word sobriquet.
Yeah.
That's not a word that one hears.
It's not a
every
modern
day.
English term.
Sobriquet just means like your nickname or a name you're going to go by or your alias or something. And then the queen says something about as the king and the grandfather, you should show a modicum of respect,
modicum,
like
yes.
a small little bit,
Just a smidge.
But I was impressed by those big words.
Yeah,
I like big words. I don't use
as
them
an
very
English
often.
teacher. Yeah.
So they talked about how Witchers don't feel anything.
They don't feel emotion or pain.
Like literally though?
They don't feel. Yeah, it's part of their mutation. Is they don't feel.
Because he sure acts like he's in pain.
Well, he hears things like it's like he senses that it's supposed to be painful.
No,
Is what I've gathered.
I didn't get
It's
that
like
at all.
they don't feel.
I thought that things really hurt sometimes, and that's the way.
I mean, maybe it depends on what it is. Like if he gets punched in the face by a human, maybe it's not gonna strike him as much. I don't know. That would be, I guess, maybe a question for really big Witcher fans that are hopefully listening to this. Is that comment in the show, Witchers don't feel, is that emotional or everything?
I feel like there was a point where he does say something about that. I'm going to have to go back and look for it, but I feel like he does address it at some point. I just have forgotten or I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it comes up again.
Yeah.
I also want to know the thing about the aging. Okay, we talked about it like on the phone
He
a little
doesn't
bit.
age.
Like nobody ages.
Nobody.
The queen doesn't age. The king doesn't age.
The bard doesn't age.
The bard didn't age. Yennefer didn't age, which that one I
She's a
can get.
sorceress.
She's a sorceress. That one's okay. But
Witcher and sorceress I can understand.
but like
Queen
the
and
queen,
bard. The bard's immortal. Man, he should.
Strugabor, he's a sorcerer too.
He's
Though.
sorcerer.
Yeah, I didn't get it
Maybe it's.
because it was just odd that like the queen's talking to her daughter, who's like
Cyrilla's mother.
yeah.
She's talking to Cyrilla's mother and looks the same as she does when
The
she's talking to Cyrilla.
the queen wasn't an old lady by any
No.
means. She looked like she was in like her early 40s or something.
Of course, maybe it's this continent.
I mean, I get it. It's fantasy and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I understand.
Yeah.
I just wish that it had been maybe mentioned.
Yeah.
I guess, though, the difference in this and, like, Lord of the Rings, my favorite fantasy of all time, like, Lord of the Rings has this wonderful little prologue at the beginning explaining to you this is what's going on in the world, and Sauron has these rings, and these guys are good and these guys are bad, and all that stuff.
And Gandalf
it's
is
all explained.
an eternity old. And,
Yeah.
No.
We don't get any of that stuff in this. And I would say most fantasy doesn't give that. You just, like, they use these big words and big fancy names and lands and all that,
Yeah.
and you just sort of figure it out as you go along. Me being so, like, OCD and everything, I want to know right now. Like, explain it to me right now. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And so that was a struggle for me. Like, what is going on with people not...
Legitimately, the first time I thought that was a little bit before the Jen episode when the bard runs back into Geralt and he's like, "What's it been? 1-2 decades since we've seen each other?" And I just want to be like, "Then how are you not old,
Exactly.
brother? I mean, you drinking from the fountain of youth?" Because I understand why the Witcher doesn't age, because he's a mutant.
Yeah, sure. I can
But
take
the
that.
bard should be 20 years older than the last time we saw him. But he's not.
A little explanation would
Yes.
be nice.
Yes.
And then the last thing I have here is when at the end of the episode when Ciri has her little banshee power.
Yes.
So is that because what's the deal with
There
that?
were these curses.
The curse of all the women born under the moon or whatever?
Yes.
And her mother had that power as well. So her mother was born at the same time as all these other people?
Yes, as all these other...
Renfrey.
Renfrey's one of them.
Okay.
And Strugglebor has made it his duty to hunt down these cursed.
So he didn't
Afflicted.
have an issue with the queen's daughter?
Strugglebor probably didn't know about it because he wasn't around. Mousak, however they
Mousak.
pronounce him, he was almost keeping that quiet for the queen. Well, they also didn't know her daughter. The queen didn't have the ability. The daughter didn't have the ability at first until later on we see it's activated. Because she said, I thought it had skipped you like it skipped me. It skipped generations, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of those things where I think that maybe The Witcher could do better as, they tried to explain that in a couple of lines of dialogue as opposed to deep dialogue explanation or a flashback or multiple people talking about it. But it was really just there's these afflicted. Strugglebor talks about, like, after I kill them, I try to dissect them to see if there's an ailment that I can, diagnose it as or what causes it, because it's this affliction that's been going on for a little while now, and because he's like the mad scientist sorcerer. Like, after I hunt them down and I kill them, I perform autopsies, and I see if maybe there's something I can find physical that causes it, this affliction. And I don't know.
Strugglebor doesn't seem like a good dude.
No, he does not. I think that when he first walks into his tower and there's that fantasy of all these naked women around being very inappropriate, immediately I was like, wow, I don't think good guys do that. Like, you don't typically see good guys doing that kind of thing. That's normally a bad guy thing. So
he doesn't care to indulge in his
yes.
fantasies.
He's very
I guess.
indulgent, a very self-indulgent character. But any other comments on episode 1, chapter 1?
I think that's it for this one.
All right. So chapter 2, 4 marks, and this source story is from Edge of the World. Yennefer, a hunchback girl from the kingdom of Edirn, is sold to Tissaia de Vries. She is taken to Aretuza to be trained as a sorceress and soon finds herself not as talented as the other students. She strikes up a friendship with Istred and reveals to him she is part elf, a cause of her deformity. Later, it is revealed Tissaia and Strugglebor were using Yennefer and Istrid to spy on each other. Yennefer witnesses Tissaia turning 3 students into eels, who act as conduits, powering Aretuza with magic. Geralt is hired to investigate thefts of grain in Posada. A traveling bard, Jaskier, joins him hoping for adventure. They encounter a Sylvan, an intelligent goat-like being who knocks them unconscious. They wake up in a mountain cave where Geralt meets the elven king, how do you pronounce his name? Filavandrel, yes. Filavandrel, and urges him to lead his people to better lands after being banished by the humans. Instead of killing them, Filavandrel releases them. Cirilla, the princess, encounters a boy in the woods, Dara, but loses him before finding a refugee camp. Dara comes back to save her as the camp is being attacked by Cahir's forces. Cirilla realizes Dara is an elf. And
I'm sorry, these names are just ridiculous. Yes. It's such a stereotypical fantasy thing to have these crazy names that are impossible to pronounce. And I think that's one reason Game of Thrones was such a breath of fresh air, like Ned, John. Keep it simple.
Danny. So, I mean, it is difficult to get past those. But in this episode, you really see a very powerful theme of prejudice and racism.
Oh, yeah.
Almost, with the elves.
Yeah.
Like, instead of them being what we're used to as elves, high, intelligent, beautiful, glorious,
talented,
godlike
right.
creatures.
Immortal.
In this world, they are treated as minorities
Did you ever
in this day and age.
Did you ever play the Dragon Age games?
Yes.
So in that universe, elves are
Yes.
in a similar situation, and a lot of the elves are slaves.
Yes.
So I've seen the elves on that side of the social
So it didn't shock
ladder
you
before. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
I didn't play a lot of Dragon Age. My friend, when the first one came out, he was a big fan of it, but I just didn't really get into it as much. So I'd never really seen elves as this lowly slave-like state.
Low on the totem pole.
Yeah, and so it really kind of struck a nerve with me because, we have a lot of that in this day and age, still, in 2020. So it was just weird seeing elves, not glorious models, with, eternal powers. But this meeting between Yennefer and Istrid, is this like a middle world, like a purgatory?
I didn't really ever think of
thing?
it that way. I just
Or
thought
is
it
this
was
just
like
a cave they met at?
Yeah, I just thought it was like the basement of the what's the place?
Oh,
Air-
Aretusa.
Yeah, that place. I thought it was just like the basement, like the lower
Yeah.
area of it.
Could be.
I'm
Could
not
be.
sure.
I like her purple eyes.
Eyes
Pretty.
are a pretty important thing in this whole show.
Yes.
Like The Witcher has orange,
Orange eyes that
Eyes.
turn black.
and then she
When
has
he's a mutant.
purple.
Yeah.
The guy that plays Istrid, her
Has
friend,
these
he's got strange eyes
silver
too.
moon-like
I don't know
eyes,
if that's.
almost.
I wonder, is that an effect or is that really his eyes?
I don't know. His looked less manufactured than hers.
Yeah, they did look pretty natural, but they
Yeah.
were still very, they stood out.
Exotic.
Yeah.
Exotic eye colors.
Yeah.
At some points in these, especially in the refugee camp that Cirilla finds safe haven in for a little bit with another wealthy family, the way that they are talking to their elf, like, I felt uncomfortable at some points.
I thought they had a dwarf.
No, that was an elf.
The little
a
guy?
shorter elf, which shows that there are different varieties
Wow.
of this elven race. There
You
are
just-
the smaller elves and the elves that we see later on.
You just rocked my world because
Yeah.
I thought he was a dwarf.
He has the pointy ears, and they say, "Oh, don't worry, he's a clean elf. He's not like
Oh,
the
that's
others.
right.
He's
Yeah.
a clean one.
He's one of the clean ones.
He's one of the clean ones." But they still treat him
Well,
terribly.
that lady got what she deserved.
She
when
did, in the end.
What was it that happened? Like she kicked him. Like
She
get out of
kicked
the
him.
way,
He
you
knocked
beast."
some stuff. He knocked some stuff over trying to help her, and she kicked him down. And he just pulls out a dagger, like, "I'm tired of this,"
Yeah.
and just kills her right then and there.
Just stabs her repeatedly.
But allows Cirilla to escape, because I'm sure Cirilla was never mean to him.
Yeah,
She's a sweetheart.
she is.
The Bard, this is when we really get to see the Bard prominently. And at first, he got on my nerves.
Oh, not me.
Really?
I loved him from the start. I think he could be my favorite character. I
crazy.
don't know. I love Yennefer too.
Yeah.
But I always love those powerful, sultry,
Yes.
types of
Yes.
ladies.
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
The Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
Stuff
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
So I love her, but I thought that the Bard was great. What's his name? Yaskir.
Yes, Gary.
And in the games, and I think the books, he's called Dandelion.
Yes.
He's the comic relief.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the devil creature, too. They call it the devil.
The Sylvan.
Yeah, but it's
You
he's like a snarky... He's like, "You talk? Yeah, of course I talk."
I thought he looked kind of goofy,
He
to
did.
be honest with you.
He is probably the fakest looking thing we've seen.
He looked silly, but at least he wasn't CGI. I
Yeah.
gotta say,
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk about that recently, like how it's important to include, puppetry, like
Well, like everybody loved Babu Frick
Babu
in
Frick,
Rise of Skywalker
Baby
because
Yoda.
it's a puppet. It's not the old. It's not the
Right.
new CGI. It's bringing. It's still having that old feel of what they had to do.
Yeah, it just is better.
Yeah, it
I
really
think,
is.
because the CGI is just so. It looks so out of place sometimes. Like that's clearly generated from a computer.
Well, like in this rewatch of New Hope that I told you that I was doing,
Right.
it's on Disney Plus and I'm rewatching it, and it's the remastered. They've added stuff in, So when they actually go to Mos Eisley, all these new things were added in. like new robots, new spaceships,
I
new
didn't
aliens.
notice any of that stuff.
It's computer added in. Like if you were to go back and watch the original New Hope that we had on VHS that came out.
You
And
mean the special edition
Yes,
in the 90s?
that we had on VHS.
Yeah.
There are things not in the Mos Eisley scene, but if you watch it on Disney Plus, they've added things in.
Wow.
Like computer digitally, they have added, and you can tell.
I
You can
didn't
tell
notice.
it's digitally added.
I'll have to go back and
Like
look.
it's rough seeing that.
Especially when, that footage from the 70s is sort of, I don't know how you describe it, like kind of this grainy,
Yeah.
old, footage. You could tell it's not recent. And then
Yeah.
here's this, pretty computer-generated thing right next to something
Yes.
that
They put in
it's out of place.
and they did a lot of this remastering after the prequels were released. So they put in some creatures in Mos Eisley and A New Hope that you had seen in the prequel trilogy to kind of give this connection. Like, oh, we saw that in Attack of the Clones. We saw that creature. That creature's also at Mos Eisley. But you can tell the difference.
Gotcha.
And it's just rough. It's just rough. But it was cool to learn that this Silva is a person.
Yeah.
Just with makeup and, pretty cool effects. And it's not all computer animated.
Yeah.
So, and like I told you earlier, this was where we get to hear Toss a Coin to Your Witcher first. He starts working on the song.
Taking the internet by storm.
Yes.
The new big thing.
Yes, the new big song.
Look out, Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Toss a coin to your Witcher is here.
next. But I enjoyed this episode. I liked Yennefer's storyline and felt so terrible for her. The stepfather, who I guess was her father, but then you find out, like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
Obviously, the mom had an affair at one point because she's half elf and the dad's not an elf.
Right.
And the mom's not an elf. So somewhere, this mom was unfaithful.
So maybe that's why he was so willing to
Sell her
I mean,
for
he did say
6
she's
pieces.
no daughter of mine.
Yeah.
I thought it was 4.
Four.
Yeah.
She offered 6, though. She offered 6. He said, 4. Like, what a terrible thing to do. Is like, you wouldn't take the full 6. Because he didn't think she was worth the full 6.
Really? I thought that he asked for 6 and she offered 4.
I thought it was... No, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. He said 6.
But still, he gave her up.
Yeah. And told the mom to shut it when she said, you can't do that. And he's like, shut it. She's no daughter of mine.
So I wonder if it's because... At the time, I just thought, oh, he's ashamed of her because she's deformed. She's a hunchback.
Well, he was willing to sell a pig for more than her. Because he said pigs are 10.
I think, though, that really sets up the idea that Yennefer's coming from nothing and she's mistreated and you're meant to sympathize with her. She's going to go on to do great things.
Yes.
And I had that feeling right away.
Yeah.
And turns out that's what happened. So
I love Yennefer.
Love Yennefer.
Great character.
Let's talk a little about this whole eel thing.
It was odd.
So I guess the way I took it was like they have all these girls here training to be sorceresses, and the sorcerers and sorceresses all advise the kingdoms of the land,
Of the continent, they call
and
it.
so like you have to be
Good.
you got to be like the best.
You
of the
have
best.
to be the best of the best. And the
To-
rest of you that don't make it
right.
become eels to generate the electrical magic it takes.
Yeah, they serve as a conduit of,
Yeah.
of magic.
So it's like you were good, but just not good enough.
you had the ability, you just weren't
but not for what we need.
enough.
However, we still want you to take part in this,
Why does the building need to have a magic charge?
I don't know. I think it was more of like just a charge, Aretusa just as a whole. Like, it's not they're eels and they are, we know eels as electric conduits. That's why we have electric eels. Correct?
Sorry, yeah.
I think instead of electricity, that those are the eels that are conduit of magic for Aretusa.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So it's not
I
like-
gathered that. I just
But
don't
they're
understand why.
they're powerful enough to be conduits, but not powerful enough to be sorceresses.
Yeah, so I guess that means like when you ascend, you
Yes.
make it to that next level, or you ascend to become a advisor
king's
to a
advisor.
kingdom or whatever. Because I don't know. Like, at first I thought they're being turned into eels. Does that mean they ascended? I don't get it. But
yeah.
So it turns out that Yennefer was the one who ascended. The most unlikely of all of them.
Yes. And it's because, I guess I've been pronouncing her as Tisai or Tisia or however of the head of her order.
She's like their teacher.
Their teacher.
They call the mages who are the teachers like rector and rectress.
Rector and rectress. The rectress of Aretusa. It's almost like early on she was like, no, she's not showing it off right now, but she takes a certain... It takes a certain act to make her kick in.
Right.
Anger. Like just being pissed off causes Yennefer to start doing things. She created a portal out of thin air that someone early on in her training should not be doing that well at. So I liked this whole sorceress storyline.
Oh, me too. I love magic.
It's really cool. We also get to meet your favorite character, the bard.
Yeah.
And he's funny. The comic relief, it's just weird to see comic relief. Maybe this is what's weird for me. Comic relief that's also a handsome human being. Because when I think of comic relief, I think of like Jonah Hill in Superbad or LeFou in Beauty and the Beast. Not this good-looking guy who sings very well and plays the lute, but he's the comic relief. So maybe it was just threw me off. Instead of the star, it just threw me off to see the good-looking, young, hotshot, beautiful human being as the comic relief.
Yeah, I never had any problem with it. I thought he was great.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just like, it's different.
Just different.
And I think it makes it
not
works.
bad, just different.
Yeah, not bad, just different. So any other thoughts on Chapter 2 for you?
That's it.
I enjoyed it. Shall we continue with Chapter 3?
Let's do it. Chapter 3, Betrayer Moon, and the source story for this one is The Last Wish. Yennefer and Istrid become lovers while finishing their training. While Yennefer has the chance to transform her body into her ideal image during graduation, the Brotherhood of Sorcerers discuss the allocation of their newly initiated to their respective kingdoms. But through Stregobor's scheme, Yennefer is assigned to Nilfgaard instead of her preferred Aedirn due to her elven blood. Realizing what happened, Yennefer angrily breaks up with Istrid, knowing only he could have told Stregobor about her blood. Having missed graduation, Yennefer undergoes the painful transformation to be beautiful at cost of her fertility.
That was a rough scene.
It was, and I have a pretty weak stomach, so that stuff is especially difficult for me to watch. But I don't really see why that's such a big deal, taking away her fertility. I don't think that any of the sorcerers or sorceresses have daughters or sons or anything, do they?
Taking away the fertility is part of the spell. He has to have her, let's say, anatomical bits to make the concoction.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He needs those to make the spell.
Well, it seems like later on it is a big deal that she gave that up.
Which is why they're sacrificed. It goes in the thing that he's mashing in the mortar and pestle, which is rough to think about.
Anyway, Yennefer charms Aedirn's king Virferil
yes.
into taking her as advisor, sending Fringilla to Nilfgaard instead, which turned out to be a bad move.
Bad.
Yeah. Geralt enters the kingdom of Temeria investigating a monster and is assisted by Triss Marigold, King Foltest's sorceress advisor. He identifies the monster as a Striga, a creature born from a curse he later discovered was placed by the courtier Ostrit, who learned about the affair between Foltest, good grief, and his sister, Princess Ada. Using Ostrit as bait, Geralt battles to contain the Striga until dawn, which lifts the curse. Cirilla enters a dense forest in a trance as Dara follows to help.
We get a lot answered here. We get the answer of what they mean by the Ascension transformation. and we just talked about, that was uncomfortable to watch.
Right.
Not just the process that has to happen, but the performance that she gives of the pain she's going through.
Didn't he say like something about putting her to sleep?
They normally put him to sleep.
And she said, "No, I can do it."
She's like, "No, I can do it." He's
Why
like,
would she
"No."
not just let him put her to
I
sleep?
think she's trying to prove something. Not just to him, but maybe to herself.
She's the most powerful?
Yeah, she's like, if I can do this, then I'll be the best. Because in the next episode, she talks about, I want to be the best sorceress. And maybe that's what makes her cold when we first see her as a full sorceress to that queen. Is she's more cold. Maybe this is like, I need this. I don't need tears. I need this. This will be the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. So moving forward, nothing will hurt me.
Maybe like, if I can live through that, I can live through anything.
Yes, through anything. We open with this other Witcher hunting the Striga.
Oh, yeah.
Just a no-name Witcher.
He kind of reminded me of Uncle Benjen in Game of Thrones.
He did look
He looked
like
a lot
Uncle
like that guy.
Didn't make it.
Nope, not for long.
And we get this definitely rated R moment in a pub somewhere between the Witcher and one of his many females.
Yeah.
So
one
yeah.
he might have given a little extra coin to
Yes.
for her time.
3 days.
3 days?
3 days, they said in that episode.
Like just hanging out in a
Yes.
bedroom?
3 days.
Good Lord.
The stamina. And also in a flash forward, we get to see these miners. This is a mining kingdom, and we get to see Gary from Joker.
Yeah, the little
Little
guy.
guy. Little guy from
that
Joker.
he couldn't unlock
Yeah,
the door
but
of
he let him
Joker's
leave because he was
apartment.
all. And this was actually the first. I said episode 4, but this was the first time where I thought something weird was happening because she said something about being, This is the first time I was like, how long has Yennefer been training? Like, I feel like there's this time
It's
lapse
not clear
that
at
I'm
all.
not clear with this
Yeah.
time lapse that's happened.
Quite confusing.
It's very confusing, and the artist who creates her pretty body looks a little bit like Sirius Black
I
at
can
first.
see it. I can see it.
Shocked me a little bit. Notes. I did find an editing problem.
What's that?
I found a little editing.
Oh, was it the thing when like they were looking in two different directions
No,
or something when they were talking?
when Yennefer finds out she's being replaced to a different kingdom, she goes to Tissia, or the Rectress.
Tisea?
Tissia. Yes, Tissia.
That's it.
And Tissia, when she stands up, she's standing behind the desk, kind of with her hands on the desk, and she's looking at it. She's like, I didn't tell him about your blood. She's like, it wasn't me that told him about your half-elven blood. The next scene we see is, like, literally the next camera cut we see. Not scene. The next camera cut we see is Yennefer marching out of the Rector's office. And now, Tissia is 2 feet in front of her desk with her arms crossed.
Oh.
As if they've cut out an entire scene of her walking around the desk and getting closer to Yennefer. It was just a bad editing camera cut.
Jeez.
That was
I
through
never
my
would've
second. That was
noticed
through
that.
my second watch through. The Striga was an odd creature.
It was an interesting concept. I wonder if that comes from some sort of like
Myth
old
or old
tall
wives'
tale,
tale.
or like everybody knows a werewolf and
Yeah,
Dracula and
but I've heard
all those tall
I have
tales.
heard the term Striga before that wasn't Witcher. I've heard that word somewhere.
about a monster.
Yes.
So okay, that's what I'm saying. Like they've borrowed it from some sort of lore.
You're never
tall
going to guess
tales or
where I've
whatever.
heard that term.
No telling. Supernatural.
Yes.
Of course.
Striga was in Supernatural. It was a
Yeah.
type
Okay,
of
that makes
spirit.
sense.
It's a
So
type of
it's like a
spirit.
well-known
myth.
supernatural
Yeah.
monster myth.
And I love the force that the Witcher, I call it the force. He just throws up his hands and the creature flies across
They
the
talk
room.
about how the sorcerers, the mages, and everybody like they pull their power through chaos.
Yes.
Like their magic is formed through the chaos that surrounds them,
Yes.
or something.
Yes.
Like so.
Instead of peace, they drive through chaos.
Does Geralt draw his from chaos
yes.
as well?
He's stronger if basically the way that I kind of have noticed it is that he's stronger the crazier situation he's in.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's how he was able to have such a strong force push to knock the Striga 50 yards away from him, is because this thing was about to kill him.
So what was the point of this party, by the way?
The party is to court. Literally, it's kings and sorceresses courting each other
Oh.
for where they would be assigned if there was a match. Like, if you notice, the king of the place that she really wanted to go to, when they put her friend with him, when they changed things up on him, she walks in and the king's dancing with her. He didn't like this sorceress. He's like,
Fringilla?
Fringilla, can we take a break? You know, he just didn't. But when
didn't
she
catch
walked in, his eyes he perked up and he was like, this is the one I want.
He was like,
Yeah.
had that one ready for you.
I bet you did. Yeah, it was a very odd scene. This courting dance.
Bet you didn't notice this. There's a hint about the timeline in this scene, because there was a point when someone was fussing at these two little kids. That was,
The kid was Foltest.
King Foltest
And his sister.
and his sister Ada. She called him by name. So that shows you this is like 50, 60 years before what we were seeing Geralt do in the same episode.
Huh.
So,
Wow.
timeline.
Boom. Barry Allen.
Did you notice also that when we are all over the place about this episode, I know, but there's just so many things to talk about. When he was fighting the Striga, he had like these brass knuckles.
With the wolf.
Yeah,
Because his nickname's the White Wolf.
White Wolf.
Yeah.
And so I assume it's silver because he has a regular sword that he uses for like fighting humans and just general things.
Then he has
but
a
then he
silver
has
sword.
silver for monsters. So I guess the brass
Silver
knuckles are
brass. He
silver.
didn't want to kill it.
Yeah.
So he just like gave it the right hook with these silver knucks, which were, everything he has is just purposeful.
Right.
Like the chain he used against the Striga at first, silver,
Right.
and it's this long chain that he thought could contain. And that was a pretty cool, the way they threw in that mythos, like, oh, you have to keep it out of its crypt before more, and also this is episode 3.
Yeah.
And we have now heard Geralt say the F word 17 times, I think, at this point.
Jeez.
And he
You kept
doesn't
count?
say it in, like, anger. It's more of like a, bollocks.
He just
You
sort
know?
of resigned to it, like,
Yeah.
all right, here we go.
Like,
F-bomb.
F-bomb. Like we would say, oh, crap.
Yeah.
That's how he says, oh, crap.
Yeah, it was always funny.
But I have a note here. It's like, we've seen 3 episodes now, and I still love his performance as Geralt.
Yeah. Solid.
It is. It's just solid. However, there are a couple of times where sometimes when he's talking calmly, sometimes I can't. I've had to rewind.
Because he's doing
Well, he's
it all gruff
British,
like that.
gruff, and he's speaking quiet.
Right.
And it's not just British; it's Old English.
Oh,
Quiet.
this is why I use the captions.
Yes,
I have
I probably
subtitles
should
on
start
all the
using
time.
subtitles. I should
Because
start using.
I am
subtitles.
deaf, and also for reasons like what you just said.
Understanding what they say.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on episode chapter 3?
I think that's it.
Betrayal Moon. Shall we move on to chapter 4?
No,
No, you don't want to.
I don't think we should. This has already been, this is our welcome back
Okay.
for the year, and I think that the people are probably just so excited to hear from us again.
Yes.
Here live and in person.
Yes.
That,
and maybe some people have only gotten this far.
Could be that too. So maybe we're going to give you guys a little extra time to catch up on The Witcher, rewatch The Witcher. Maybe we'll rewatch The Witcher. And we'll reconvene, maybe, what do you say, on Friday?
Because we have not had a follow-up Friday in a while.
So we'll have a part 2 of this episode released to you guys as let's say our New Year's gift. 2 episodes in 1 week.
Yay!
And release that on Friday.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
Because there's so much to talk about anyway.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fun.
It's been great.
And I can't wait to continue with you.
Same.
But this has proved that maybe I need to go back and watch it a third time. There are things I'm missing. So,
You can always watch it a third time.
yes. We will continue with chapters 4 through 8. on Friday. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah. And if you have heard anything thus far that you would like to let us know, or maybe you have some better pronunciations for the names, please correct us. We don't mind being corrected on that.
They say it so fast on the
yes.
TV, I just can't catch it.
And email us. Tweet us.
And some of you are a lot smarter than we are. You could probably explain these things that we're not understanding a lot better.
Like I said, we have not read the novels. We have not played the games. This is really a lot of our first full in-depth contact with The Witcher.
Yeah, and I have no memory of the
universe.
game.
So please, if you have anything that will help us out, let us know. Send it to 30andnerdypod@gmail.com, and we will fix those things, and we will talk about it. Also, if you have any questions about the what we'll be discussing next week, or what we've already discussed next week, Friday, what we've discussed so far, if you have any questions, comments, let us know. We can't wait to continue this Witcher talk with you. If you are not a Patreon supporter, there are different tiers. There are different ways to support us on Patreon, and you still get stuff for that tier. For those of you who have been helping us, thank you so much. We look forward to doing more with you. We look forward to maybe finding something else to talk about. We had Mandalorian Mondays. That was fun.
It was great.
We'll find something else. Hopefully with alliteration, because I like alliteration.
Yeah, Mandalorian Monday.
Yeah, see?
Titan Tuesday.
Ooh. You've given me a lot to think about in there.
Witcher Wednesdays.
Well,
we're already doing
Witcher.
That. I'm just giving an example.
Thirsty Thursdays. We'll talk about drinks, waters.
Thirsty for nerdledge.
Yes. So thank you, seriously, thank you for all the support, not just Patreon, but all that every one of you do just by subscribing, by listening, by sharing, and commenting, and everything. 2019 was great. We cannot wait for the rest of 2020 and what we are going to be doing. A lot of changes coming, but we're excited for those changes, and we'll continue to do this show, and are very, very excited. So JD, I like your idea. I think I'll see you on Friday then.
Sounds great. And we will catch you nerds later.
You've been listening to the 30 and Nerdy podcast with your hosts, Josh Davis and Tyler McDaniel. Brought to you by Freddy Cat Productions, Encore Theatrical Company, Advertising Expressions. 30 and Nerdy is a Next Wave podcast and a Badcast Company production. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Join the conversation using the hashtag 30andNerdyPod. Find us in the Pod Nation on podchaser.com and rate this episode. Got something to say? Let us know. Email us at 30andnerdypod@gmail.com. Cheers to you, nerds.